Let me ask you something. What if the biggest challenge for so many adults with ADHD isn't just about brain chemistry, but about their body's clock? We're going to dive into that because the link between ADHD and our internal sense of time is honestly way more important than you might think. Get this. A massive 75% of adults with ADHD have something called delayed sleep phase. What does that mean? Well, it means their body is biologically a night owl, and they're forced to live in a world built for early birds. And just to be clear, this is not a lifestyle choice. It's a real fundamental mismatch between their internal clock and the 9 to 5 clock the rest of us run on. And that exact mismatch is what we're all about here. So welcome to Sleepedia, a corner of the internet dedicated to the science of sleep and circadian rhythms. In this explainer, we're taking that idea that timing is everything to look at ADHD in a whole new light. We're going beyond the usual story of it being just a chemical issue. For years, right, the entire conversation has been about dopamine this, norepinephrine that, and look, that stuff is absolutely part of the picture, but it's not the whole picture. So what if the real key to getting more focused, to feeling more in control, isn't just about adding a chemical, but about getting the whole system back in sync? To really get why this new way of thinking is such a game changer, we have to talk about the reality for so many people right now. Stimulant medication is usually the first thing that's tried, but it often comes with a hefty price, what our source material calls a biological tax. And believe me, that tax can be steep. We're not just talking about not feeling hungry. For so many, it's that awful crash of irritability when the meds wear off, or that constant humming physical anxiety in your chest, or, and this is a big one, an emotional blunting that just makes it hard to, feel things. It's a tough trade-off to make day in and day out. In fact, that feeling of being emotionally numb is so common that people often describe it as feeling like you're in a zombie-like state. Yeah, you might be able to focus on a spreadsheet, but at what cost? You can see why researchers are so driven to find other ways to help, right? So this brings us to the main event, the core idea of this whole explainer. What happens if we reframe ADHD completely? Not as a simple deficit that needs to be filled, but as a really complex system that's just out of sync. This idea isn't totally brand new, but wow, is our understanding of it taking off. I mean, just look at how far we've come. We went from calling it mental restlessness way back in the 1700s to blaming it on bad parenting for decades until we finally got an official diagnosis in 1980. And now, finally, we're seeing it for what it truly is, a complicated neurodevelopmental disorder with deep biological roots. And this slide right here really nails the shift in thinking. The old way of seeing it was all about a dopamine deficit. The brain needed a chemical bridge, which is what medication provides. But the new idea? It sees misaligned internal clocks causing a constant state of internal jet lag. Think about that. The brain isn't just low on gas. The engine's timing is completely off. If we want to fix that timing, where on earth do we start? Well, maybe not with the clocks themselves, but with the foundation. The single best, most evidence-backed approach that isn't a pill is behavioral therapy. And it's not about patching a hole. It's about building a whole new operating system for your brain. I love this analogy. Medication gives you that temporary chemical bridge. It helps you get over the canyon right now. But behavioral therapy, that helps you build the permanent infrastructure. It teaches you how to build your own bridges for any canyon you face down the road. It's the difference between renting a solution and owning one.
So what is this infrastructure we're talking about? It's real-world, practical stuff. It's learning how to get organized, developing actual strategies to handle those big, overwhelming emotions, and figuring out how to break down a huge, scary project into small, manageable pieces. These are the life skills that medication alone just can't teach.
All right, so you've got this foundation of behavioral skills being built. Now we get to the really cool part. We can add two incredibly powerful tools on top of that. Tools that speak directly to this disorder of timing by using two of the biggest forces in our biology, light and food.
First up is bright light therapy. Your brain has a master clock, and for that 75% of adults with ADHD who are night owls, that clock is running late. By getting about 10,000 lux of bright light in your eyes first thing in the morning, we're talking seriously bright light. It's like hitting a giant reset button. You're basically telling your brain, hey, it's morning, time to wake up. This helps advance the clock so you feel alert during the day, not at 2 in the morning.
And the second tool is time-restricted feeding, or TRF. So if light sets the master clock in your brain, guess what sets all the little clocks in your liver, your gut, your muscles? Food. When we eat all day and all night, it's like all those clocks are getting different memos. They're all confused. By eating in a consistent window every day, say 8 to 10 hours, you force all those clocks to get on the same page. Food becomes this powerful time giver for your whole body.
So how does just changing when you eat actually help with focus? Well, one of the amazing things TRF does is it boosts a protein called Brain-Derived Neurotrophic Factor, or BDNF. The source material calls it Miracle Grow for the brain, which is just perfect. It helps your brain build new connections and makes it more flexible, which is absolutely critical for improving things like impulse control.
Now we've got to be super honest about the science here. Let's look at the evidence. In animal studies, the data is pretty solid. It works. For humans, we have some indirect evidence that it can help our dopamine system work better. But, and this is a big but, the large-scale human trials for ADHD specifically are still just getting started. So it's incredibly promising, but we're still at the front end of the research.
So what's the big picture here? Well, we're moving towards a future for ADHD management that is so much more complete and personalized. It's not about one thing, it's about this amazing synergy. You use behavioral therapy to build the skills, and then you use things like light and food to sync up the underlying biology. And really, this is the one sentence to remember from all of this. The ADHD brain does not just need stimulation, it needs synchronization. The goal is changing. We're not just trying to jumpstart a deficient brain anymore. We're trying to take this incredibly complex, powerful, and often out-of-whack system and gently bring all its different parts back into rhythm.